Mine Kill. It's been an A tier for how many years now, Jamin? Is this the second or third?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's the third.
I thought this was the second. I thought last year was the first time it was an A tier.
Oh, it might have
The
been.
year before that had A tier money, but it was a B tier.
Oh, that's right.
That was Jason's like mock trial.
Yeah, it was the same setup, but it was. You're right.
And he just posted the other day that they're putting it on video again. Who was a gatekeeper and somebody else?
Heiser Media.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Very cool.
Well, since we're talking about it, a couple things about Mine Kill. First of all, Wednesday, Paint Bureau Pro League is going to be at Mine Kill. Then they're doing a work day on Saturday, and then the Discap Monthly on Sunday. Is that correct?
So timeline is not this coming Wednesday. So this coming Wednesday is CTK, but when people hear this...
See, because Jason's smart, and I'm not. I got you.
Yeah. The next one will be Mine Kill. So it's the Wednesday before the Mine Kill Championship is the Paint Bureau Pro League.
You know what never changes? If we use like actual dates are pretty hard set. Like you don't have to use.
Yeah, well they said Wednesday,
Numbers are
Corey.
hard.
What more do you want?
Yeah.
So Saturday workday, Sunday is Discap Monthly, and then the following Wednesday will be Paint Bureau Pro League at Mine Kill.
The 29th, yep.
The 29th. All right. Well, I'm glad we got that. Having that knocked out quick. Welcome to the Hudson Valley Disc Golf Podcast. This week we got Alex, Corey, Jamin, and myself. We're going to have a conversation with 2022 Hudson Valley Disc Golf Podcast Player of the Year, Antonio Albert, and two of the people responsible for getting a disc golf course in the ground in New York City, Alex Bender and Alex Hoyle. Before we start, you guys are both named Alex. We got an Alex. How do we coordinate this?
Last names are totally good. We're so used to being called by our last names at this point.
All right. I kind of dig calling Alex, hey, Potts.
Yeah.
That was a classic.
It sounds like moonshine runner timey. Yeah, you picture Alex wearing anyways. Yeah. Y'all can picture it.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go alphabetically then. Alex Bender, how'd you first discover disc golf?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the podcast. The first time I ever played disc golf was in 2019, so not too long ago. A friend of mine, Henry Ferruta, he's big in the ultimate frisbee scene, and he kind of made the jump from ultimate frisbee to disc golf. We both grew up in Colorado, and one day during 2019, he took me to my first disc golf course, which was West Creek Disc Golf Course in Parker, Colorado. And yeah, ever since then, probably the summer or fall of 2019, it just kind of stuck as the main hobby of mine. Over the course of 2020 and pandemic, it kind of picked up. And then in 2021, did a big cross-country road trip where I went all over the country and used disc golf as a way to discover new places. So that's really what made disc golf more of a staple in my life was that road trip. But yeah, it started in 2019.
Any particular courses that you hit on the trip?
Yeah, I've played Maple Hill and Idlewild, all over the place, but those were the two most like championship tier. There were some courses in Iowa and Indiana that I really enjoyed. The names are slipping my mind right now, but one of them was on like a monastery campus in rural Indiana, and I just thought it was the most beautiful course I played. It was one of the most off the beaten path courses I went to, and I think when I went, it didn't have that many reviews, but it's called St. Meinrad Arch Abbey Disc Golf Course. It's in St. Meinrad, Indiana. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I just thought it was such a beautiful course and would highly recommend it for anyone.
You said it was on a monastery?
I believe so. They say Arch Abbey.
Yeah, no, that makes me think it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it was publicly accessible, and it was a really misty, rainy day when I went, and no one was out except for me. So that added to kind of the mystique of the disc golf course. Yeah, so I would recommend that one. But yeah, kind of tried to play a disc golf course in every state that I visited, and I went to 39 states in total. Didn't hit every single one, but got as close as I could.
I have a road trip question. 2 questions, actually.
Yeah.
One, what was the vehicle?
So I built out a camper in the back of a Nissan Frontier. So it was a little pickup truck, and in the back I put a top on it. I had a bed platform that I built. I had some storage for all my camping gear. So it was a little compact camper, so to speak.
Badass. I like it. 2, since 39 states, I can only imagine how many miles that must have been. Did you have any problems along the road mechanically with the vehicle?
Yeah, good question. First of all, guess how many miles I drove?
39 states. I don't know if that means you were zigzagging all over the place.
I was zigzagging, yeah.
I'm going to guess 3,800 miles.
Whoa. 3,800.
Is that too many? Is that too little?
Too little.
Okay. I mean, I meant to say 6,800.
I was saying like 10,000 or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say 12,000.
Okay,
Wow.
you guys are the smart guys here. I know.
I was going to say 50,000.
I mean, I'm just saying if you were efficient, it sounds like maybe it would be around 3,800 miles.
I was not efficient. I was doing a lot of zigzagging to see friends. It ended up being just under 30,000 miles, actually. Yeah.
Isn't that like, what is like the circumference of the Earth?
Oof, I don't know off the top of my head.
It needs 31,000, Corey.
Is it really?
No.
All right, Mr. Smart Guy.
24,901 miles is the circumference of the Earth,
Jesus.
according to Google.
Wow.
All right, so back to the question. Did you have any mechanical failures?
Big time knock on wood for future road trips, but I had no mechanical issues whatsoever. I bought the car with just over 100,000 miles on it, and I just did an oil change every 5,000 miles, and thank goodness I had no like major issues whatsoever. I had to replace my tires halfway through, but that was just because they were normal wear and tear. So thank goodness no actual bad mechanical issues, which I know happen on a lot of cross-country road trips.
That's crazy. Some people never even get the chance to change their tires once in the time they own a vehicle. And you
Right.
change it halfway through your trip.
And I
That's
only
crazy.
owned the vehicle for 8 months. I bought it for the road trip, and then I sold it right at the end of the road trip, and then I moved to New York the day that the vehicle sold, and been living in New York ever since.
That's nuts.
So on the trip, though, was that like course to course kind of thing, or how did you map it out, or did you have a plan going in?
So the main objective of the trip was to see different national parks and to see friends of mine all over the country. So it was just after the COVID vaccines came out. So the main objective was really just travel. It was kind of, I had been working at a corporate startup, decided to leave that job in order to free up some of my time to experience the country, and really just wanted to get as much like travel in as I could and to see people that I hadn't seen since COVID had started. But while I was doing long legs of driving, I was using disc golf as a way to kind of take breaks in the trip and to explore new areas. So I wasn't necessarily planning the trip around disc golf courses, but I was finding, and I was like really happy to find that no matter where I ended up, there was always a nearby well-rated disc golf course. And yeah, that was like a good discovery of the road trip, is just how prevalent it is all over the country.
When you lived in Colorado, what was your nearest course?
There are two that are about equidistant from me. So I'm from Aurora, Colorado, kind of southeastern Aurora, Colorado. And so I would play West Creek disc golf course, which is in Parker, and I would play Village Greens disc golf course most frequently. Those are the two I would kind of consider my stomping grounds, so to speak.
How and why did you get to New York?
For me, I've always loved cities, and I lived in New York during college for a 6-month period because I was doing a co-op. I went to college at Northeastern University in Boston. So we had like this co-op program where we could go work full time for 6 months rather than taking classes for that semester.
I went to Wentworth, so right across the street.
Oh yeah, no way. Yes, also a co-op program and our closest neighbor.
Yeah.
I have several friends that went to Wentworth as well. Yeah, so I went to Northeastern, did one of my co-ops in New York City, loved living here. I was traveling a lot because the co-op was a consulting job. So I was going to Chicago every week for the first 3 months, and I was going to San Francisco every week for the next 3 months. But every time I would go back to New York over the weekends, I just loved my time here. And after graduating, after COVID, I knew I wanted to end up in a big city because even though I do love the mountains and I'm a very outdoorsy guy, from a living perspective, I just saw myself in a big city. So New York was kind of the obvious place for me. And then many of my friends from Northeastern relocated from Boston to New York around the same time I did. So I ended up having a good network of people here and was able to move in with 3 of my closest friends from Boston. So it was kind of an aspect of me wanting to live in a city, me liking New York, and then good social connections of mine also living in the city.
And what courses did you play once you got here?
For me, my frequency of playing took a huge fall. I went straight from the road trip where I was playing almost every day or at least multiple times per week to not really playing. Right upon moving, I immediately kind of fell into the New York way of living and found myself being very busy and in a good way, socially busy, and then also starting a new job. But that led to me not really playing a lot of disc golf. And I didn't make quite as many field trips out of the city as like Hoyle did, for example, or many of the other people that are in the New York City Disc Golf Association. But when I was traveling, I would still try to get out and play. So I did play at Beacon Glades, which is in the Hudson Valley.
I'm a half hour from there, so.
No way. So my roommate, his family lives in Beacon. So every so often when I go up and visit his family with him, we'd play Beacon Glades. And then I went traveling a little bit. So I played a course in Reykjavik, Iceland. I played a course in Lisbon, Portugal. But I wasn't really playing many courses in the New York metro area because it was just really hard to get to from where I lived in the city.
All right. So, Alex Hoyle, how did you first discover disc golf?
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having us on.
Absolutely.
So I started playing disc golf back in 2007, seventh grade. I had a science teacher by the name of Willie Williams started bringing some
What a
frisbees
name.
yeah, great name, icon. He started bringing some disc golf discs to our school, and we had 3 baskets on our recess playground. And so that quickly became my obsession, was going out during recess, abandoning my friends and throwing these 3 holes just day after day, and quickly fell in love with just the flight of the disc and just playing disc golf. And it just kind of snowballed from there. Started playing some local tournaments. I'll say probably one of my biggest regrets is I failed to get a PDGA number back in 2007. So I lost those bragging rights for a fun 5-digit number. Oh, the other thing I'll add, our rival high school was where Kevin Jones went to school. So that he's kind of who I end up pulling for on tour, just since he's kind of from my area of the world.
And where was this?
I went to Alma High School and he went to Greenwood. His dad was kind of like an iconic football coach there. Really great team. So, from there, 2007, just kept playing pretty consistently. Got to college. It kind of fell off a little bit. I eventually moved out to Washington, D.C. to go to graduate school, which is where I met my now wife, and she got a job in New York, and I chased her up here, and that's how I wound up in New York City. So, yeah.
What other courses in the Arkansas area did you play?
So my hometown, Alma, had an incredible course that I was really fortunate to be able to grow up and play. The front 9 is just like on this cliff's edge, so there's just danger on every tee shot, risk of going OB right, and hopefully being able to find your disc coming back on the back 9. So that was a fun course to start playing. There were courses around, I don't know how familiar you are with Arkansas, but Fort Smith has some good courses. I've never played Jonesboro, unfortunately. It's definitely one I'd like to go play, as well as probably the best one in the state that I have played is Persimmon Ridge, which some people may know. It's normally listed on like Arkansas's top 5 best courses. It's where a big germ just took down the A tier a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's where it sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, there's a lot of great disc golf in Arkansas, a lot of space for it, really strong community of disc golfers there. And yeah, from there, I would say some of my favorite courses that I've played have probably been on the East Coast, though, ranging from Maple Hill to Stafford Woods, even to Nevin and Charlotte. Just some really fantastic disc golf on the East Coast, and I really enjoyed being able to kind of explore up and down, playing some really hard disc golf. It really puts into perspective how good these guys are.
When is the last time you played in Arkansas or Arkansas, however you say it?
Good question. I guess I went home a few months ago. I will say I grew up on a cattle ranch, so we've got quite a bit of acreage on our property that I'm currently like building a course on. So I often will just play my custom layout out on the ranch. So I spend a lot of time out there throwing.
Or you still have ties to Arkansas?
Yeah. All my family lives down there, and so I try to go visit as often as I can to see all of them.
Hoyle, have you been playing consistently since 2007, or did it fall off at any point?
When I got to undergrad, it definitely fell off. We had it was 7-hole course on campus, so I would get in some rounds, but it was kind of a poorly maintained course. So didn't spend a lot of time playing in those 4 years from like 2012 to 2016. But then when I got to DC, it kind of re-sparked my interest just kind of randomly. I don't really know what did it, but I just re-fell in love with the sport. The University of Maryland has a really good campus course that I would go up and play. And then, gosh, yeah, I basically from 2017 on, I've just been just all in, fully in love with the sport again, back when, kind of like when I first started.
Were there any other DC courses that are notable?
The University of Maryland was the main one I went to. I think they do have a course in the city now, last time I heard, but it wasn't there whenever I was living in the city. So I guess kind of similar to here, there wasn't a disc golf course super close that I was aware of. So I would take a subway up to, there was a direct line up to the campus course that I could get to. So it was pretty easy for me.
And then once you got up to New York, what courses did you make it out to?
Well, I first went to the Rutgers course because it was the quickest one to get to. But after playing it a couple times, it's a great campus course, but really isn't super challenging. So then I quickly fell in love with Leonard Park in Mount Kisco. I think that's some fantastic woods golf. I could play there every day the rest of my life. Absolutely love that course. And then, of course, FDR is another favorite. Greystone Woods in New Jersey, Mercer County Park in New Jersey, a Heckscher as well. So I've really tried to play as many courses as I can. The ones that I haven't played that are definitely on my list are like Warwick, Camp Gaw, Cranberry, some of these courses that I've heard a lot about that I just haven't had a chance to make it out to yet.
So how long does it take you to get to Leonard Park?
If I'm taking Metro North, all in door to door, it's probably like 2.5 hours. So not super ideal, but that's kind of the best that we had until recently here in the city.
The train station's quite a ways from the course, right?
It's like a 15 or 20 minute walk, but there are also these like local taxis that are like, it's like $5 a person. So if you go with a group of people, 3 or 4 people, I'll pay $5 to get a ride. So it's really pretty affordable if you want to catch a taxi that's waiting outside of the train station. But if you don't want to pay, it's 15, 20 minute walk. So not terrible in the grand scheme of things.
What about from your spot to where you get on the train?
I live in Park Slope, Brooklyn, so I will take the subway to Grand Central, which is maybe 30, 35 minutes, and then hopping on the Metro North from there.
The closest I've been to New York City is Jet Stadium. I can see the city.
That's Jersey, dude, isn't it?
Yeah. Is that by choice, or you've just never had a reason to come in?
It was a Giants game. It was raining. The adults used me in a giant Carhartt to smuggle in beers. So that's a good question, actually. I guess I wasn't by choice.
Have you ever been to the American Dream Mall that's right by that stadium?
No.
It's like a hilarious, gigantic mall complex that they built in that stadium, and I think it's a fun day trip from the city just to see the spectacle of it. It has an indoor amusement park.
There's a water park too, right?
Yeah, indoor water park. No indoor disc golf course though. That's next. Yeah. That's actually our next project. Unveiling it here. No, just kidding.
So, which of the Alexes started playing disc golf, physically playing in the city first, or how'd that work?
Hoyle, definitely.
Yeah, this kind of leads into kind of how this all got started in the first place. So this was July of 2022, and I was really just trying to find some people to play disc golf with and put up a message in, it's kind of a semi-defunct Facebook page. I don't know if you know of it. It's like NYC Rogue and Rideshare Disc Golf, or I forget the exact name of it. But I put a little post in there that I was looking to putt with some people in Prospect Park, which is near where I live. And we had like 2 people show up to play, and we just putted around, got to know each other. And week after week, we kept meeting. People kept seeing the event posted, or they would just see us in the park. And these were people that were disc golfers and were like, holy cow, there are other disc golfers here. Let's connect. Let's continue to hang out. And so that went on for a long time, and the group got bigger and bigger. We started hosting bigger and bigger events. We've actually hosted 2 full 18-hole tournaments at Prospect Park. It's a really fun course to play disc golf in when there aren't people there. That's just the hard part of anywhere in New York City, is finding the space to throw without, risking hitting anyone. Actually, Antonio came out and hosted a clinic for our members at one point. Antonio, do you remember when that was? Was it like the summer of 23?
It was basically a year ago, because it was the day of the 5-borough bike tour, which caused me to be 2 hours late to my own clinic.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think the bike tour was either this month or at the end of last month. So it's just been over a year.
That was a big day for us. Probably at the time was our most attended event. There was like 15 people that came out. Everyone was super excited. And yeah, that was a cool day. So thank you again, Antonio, for doing that, because that was awesome.
I just want to point out, like, when you say you guys were, doing 18-hole tournaments, right? You guys were picking up the basket and moving the basket.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I just want to make that clear to everybody. It's like you guys were designing holes, but you didn't have 18 baskets.
Yeah, so they're all like the Innova like pop-up basket, and we have enough of our club members own one that we had in our most recent tournament in January. We had, I think it was 7 cards, and so a couple weeks before, I asked 7 people if they wanted to be designated navigators, and we went out, we laid out coordinates for where the tee pads and where the basket should be, so that each card was playing in the exact same position, because each card would carry their basket from hole to hole until they got to 18, and then they would just sit there and wait as the rest of us finished up. Yeah, it was a super fun event, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to do that. I'll finish the story by saying I think it was a little before, I guess, the clinic with Antonio that I ran into Bender in the park. He was doing a bike ride, and he saw our group playing, and he hopped off his bike and played with us, and me and him got to talking and realized we shared a very similar vision for where we wanted disc golf to go in New York City, and that's kind of when we decided that, hey, we should really formalize what this club is and really dedicate some time to trying to build something here. So that's kind of how it all started.
Right. At the point that I spontaneously encountered Hoyle and some other guys playing disc golf in Prospect Park, I had not been playing myself much in the city because of the absence of courses. But by that point, I had already been working with the parks department trying to bring the first course to the city. So that was kind of the avenue I was working on, is like trying to bring disc golf to the city rather than playing it myself, because I was not as aware of like the pop-ups that were happening until I was on a bike ride through Brooklyn. I see out of the corner of my eye some people throwing some approach shots to a pop-up basket. And I realized, no way, there are other people in the city also wanting disc golf to be here. So it felt like fate in many respects, that we spontaneously encountered one another.
So how do you go about getting a course? How do you even start?
Yeah, and I'm sure there's many different ways to do it in different municipalities, but I can talk through what it took in New York City. All told, from the very first like cold email I sent till the course is now installed in the ground as of about almost 2 weeks ago, it took almost like 20 months from first email to where we are today. And the first 6 months, I went back and looked through kind of all my reach outs. There was a mixture of me just introducing myself to parks employees when I would go to New York City Parks events and just kind of talking about the idea of disc golf, trying to get a connection to someone in the parks department that might be the right person to talk to. A combination of that and sending cold emails and bold reach outs. And I think the thing that really enabled some of those to stick and get responses, I think, is 2 things. One was it being a well-prepared and well-thought-out email where we're coming to them already with a vision of what disc golf can be in New York City, why New York City would benefit from disc golf, where disc golf might go in New York City. So kind of a well-prepared, I would say, preliminary proposal. And then the other thing that I think helped it to kind of stick was just follow through. So when I go back and look at my first emails, no exaggeration, for the first 5 months of emailing people, I don't think I got a single response, but I followed up many times. A lot of perseverance. And what began happening was I would get responses and then people would bounce me to another person. And then I would follow up with them and kind of reshare the vision. And they'd be like, oh, this sounds interesting. And they would bounce me to another person. And the time between all of these little interactions would vary, but sometimes it required 2 or 3 follow-ups until the message kind of fell on the right ears. And then after 6 or so months of that, finally was connected to the team that we ended up working with that helped to develop the disc golf course. And essentially we had a meeting with some executives in New York City Parks. So the chief marketing and development officer, one of the deputy commissioners of the whole parks department, some members of the development team, as well as some members of just the local parks team. And we kind of just shared the vision of what disc golf could be for New York City and which parks we think would be a good host for a disc golf course.
How many of those were there approximately?
So I would say from my perspective and from our scouting, I would say there are dozens of places in the city that could host a good disc golf course. However, when we presented to the Parks Department, we narrowed it down to a short list of 10 public parks that would kind of fit the bill the most. There was a couple different criteria we were going on when narrowing it down to a short list, which was the transit accessibility of the park. The more accessible by transit, the more of a compelling case it would be for this sport being. We all know disc golf to be a very accessible sport for people, have a really low barrier to entry. And we really wanted to like show in New York City that like anyone can play this sport. And we want as many people to access it as possible, even without a car. So transit accessibility was a big criteria. Level of foot traffic was another criteria. Like obviously Central Park has enough space for a disc golf course, but it has so much foot traffic and it's just a park that has so many uses and so much attention on it that it's not a understatement to say it would be a stretch to get a disc golf course in Central Park, for example. But there are a lot of other great parks in the city with lower foot traffic. So that was another criteria we were using when kind of creating that like short list of 10 parks. But truly, people don't always realize this if they're not well versed in New York City. There's so much parkland in this city. Like Central Park is the 5th biggest park in New York City. In the Bronx, in Staten Island, in southern Brooklyn, in Queens, all of which have gigantic parks that have sections of the parks that are not as utilized as some of the more utilized sections. So yeah, there's a lot of potential in New York City for disc golf.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I grew up in Queens. I've lived in Queens for most of my life. I had never heard of Highland Park.
Right.
When I went and checked out the course for the other day, it was the first time I was in that park, and I couldn't believe how nice of a park it was. You know,
Right.
with the tree coverage, and they had that right next to the, I think it's, what is it, Nines Basket, that old stone bridge. I was like,
Yep.
where am I?
Exactly. It's even before disc golf was in Highland Park. It was my favorite park in the city because it's just such a beautiful pastorally landscaped park with that old renovated stone bridge, which is just such a landmark feature. Yeah, it's a phenomenal park.
From each of you, starting with Bender, how far is it to get to that park for you?
So I live in Bushwick, Brooklyn, which is a neighborhood close to the park. So it takes me 10 to 15 minutes to bike to the park, which is my fastest way. I don't have a car. It would also be about a 10 or 15 minute drive if I did have a car. On public transit, it would be a little bit longer because of where I'm situated, but it would be probably 10 minutes on the subway plus a 15-minute walk if I took the subway.
Yeah, and for me, it really depends on how agreeable the subway system's being that day. But between like 35 to 45 minutes, I can get there pretty easily.
So 2.5 hours to Mount Kisco, but 45 minutes to Highland Park.
And also only $2.90 versus the $30 I have to pay on Metro North. So also much more affordable.
Antonio, how long have you been around in like New York City as a disc golfer?
I started playing disc golf in 2018.
Okay, so a little bit, not too long. I haven't been around that long either. I mean, 2017, 2018. New York City is not a place for me, so I never had that much interest of like knowing what's going on out there. What do you think either is like the biggest reason or the biggest couple of reasons, other than it sounds like perseverance? It sounded like the feedback was that there would never ever be a course in New York City because land use is at a premium and all the other reasons. What do you think allowed you, or what do you think you did differently that maybe people before you didn't do to make your adventure a success? And as little as 20 months. Like I know you said it was 20 months between the time that you sent out the first email and to when the course is playable. But I mean, there's courses that are in rural parks where no one's using the area that take longer than 20 months to get put in. So 20 months in New York City is kind of crazy.
Right. That's a great question. I think the like headline answer is it takes a village, and a lot of people helped make it happen. And there were a couple different things I think we were strategic about, and then also some like fortunate things happened along the way. What I mean by that is, so for example, I think we were really, since the very beginning of talking to the Parks Department, very community oriented. And we've been doing community engagement, both amongst the disc golf community, like building credibility amongst the Disc Golf Association was a big aspect of this, by showing the park that, hey, there are people in the city that are looking for this use here. We have growing membership amongst the Disc Golf Association. People are coming to our meetups more than ever before, even though there isn't a course yet. So it's like the disc golf community, but even more kind of resonant with the Parks Department is the local community engagement. So we were presenting to the community board that kind of manages the area around Highland Park long before installation, and letting them know like what disc golf is, the benefits of disc golf kind of holistically, and bringing them along, giving people discs, showing them how to play. We also had been leading monthly community events at Highland Park, even before installation happened, where we would try to get passersby to be aware of and learn how to play disc golf. We would reach out to local community organizations, both the community board, YMCA, local schools, to try to get people who are neighbors of the park to be aware that this is something that could become an amenity in their park and for their community. And all told, I think the large majority, like 95% of the interactions we are having, start where someone has no awareness of disc golf. Like it's not something that's really well known in New York City. And they end with someone having at minimum, an intrigue in disc golf, and at maximum, a huge desire to come out and play. And I think that's because we also highlighted a lot the true benefits of the sport. Like you're right that land use is at a premium, especially in New York City. But I think disc golf has a great record on land use. It's relatively low impact on the land. We did not have to remove any trees, any branches, or any bushes to design and install this course in Highland Park, for example. So it's record on land use and like bringing a positive use to the land that is previously not as utilized as some other areas of the park, I think was a message that resonated with a lot of the park staff and the community board. I think health was a huge thing that we really put in our proposal, as well as in our presentations to the Parks Department and to the community board, was how this can be an amenity that enables people to live a healthy lifestyle in a new way, especially in New York City, when people don't always have as much access to parkland as you might in a more suburban or rural area. People are always looking for ways to live a healthy lifestyle. And the Parks Department is certainly looking for ways to give people the ability to stay healthy. And disc golf just fit so well into that mission. And we really harped on that. And then just like everything in regards to the access of the sport, it being accessible to the transit network, it being financially accessible and accessible from an ability perspective as well, kind of made the case that like, though this sport hasn't been in New York City before, we collectively believe that it'll be good for the people of New York City. And it's so inextricably tied to community that it'll be a new addition that ends up benefiting like the neighbors. And I think when doing our proposal and our presentations, that messaging helped to make it almost feel like there was some amount of urgency to installing this in New York City.
I'm wondering, because I think I've gone on record, Pat, I don't know if you want to pull the clip up, on this podcast of saying, I don't think there will ever be a course in New York City.
From episode 148, December 9th, 2022.
I don't think we'll ever see a course in New York City. I'm not hopeful about that. I just couldn't see it. There's so much stuff that goes on in these parks. Disc golf is like on the bottom of the list of anybody's priority. So, I was a bit cynical. And, so I thank you guys and everybody else, like, for all the hard work. Was that at all, like, motivation? The idea that it couldn't happen or it hasn't happened yet? Did that motivate you guys, like, oh, we could be remembered in disc golf history as, the people who put a course in New York City?
That's a good question. I think certainly to an extent that was motivating, but I think for me, I'm a very casual disc golfer, and I've never played competitively. I just love the sport as an activity, as a way to explore new communities, as a way to meet people. For me, the most motivating aspect of that question wasn't as much about the disc golf history as it was about the ability to introduce a whole new swath of people to disc golf, a sport that we all believe in, A sport that I think is unique in the fact that every single organization or company that's involved in disc golf, at the end of the day, kind of shares the same mission, which is like growing the sport. Everyone has their own different slogan. It might be like granting like disc golf access to more people, or growing the sport sustainably, or whatever the PDGA's slogan is. I'm forgetting right now. But like at the end of the day, they're all saying the same thing. And I think it's such a unique thing about this sport that like everyone is bought into this like collective mission of like giving the joys of disc golf to as many people as possible. And so I think the biggest motivation in thinking about New York is like this city is filled with such a high population of people that have no awareness of disc golf whatsoever, but we all collectively believe it's something that'll benefit their communities. Yeah, like I just think it presents such a potential for getting new people into the sport and growing the sport amongst cities worldwide and growing the sport amongst more diverse audiences. And yeah, really that for me remains the like main motivation in like introducing disc golf to New York City.
Yeah, I agree with basically everything Bender just said. And I would just add that I know how much that I love playing disc golf. And I feel like in a city this big, there are so many kids that could also fall in love with the sport and it be a lifelong sport that's either something they play casually or something that they pursue in life a little more seriously. And so that was certainly one motivator for me, was just being able to share that love and knowing that it's really something that so many other people could really find enjoyable. But then more selfishly, I got really sick of lugging baskets around Prospect Park. It's just kind of tiring. So it's definitely a little self-motivating there to make it easier to have our weekly events.
Antonio, how far is this new course for you to get to?
Well, I'm spoiled. I have a car, right? So I have not like even like investigated how long it would take for like public transport. On like a Saturday morning, no traffic, it's 20 minutes. And I think when I went the other day, I went in the afternoon, it took me about 35, so even as someone with a car who is accustomed to driving to disc golf courses, it still is faster, than anything else. Kisco on a Saturday morning is at least 45. FDR is 50 minutes. And so, even with a car, it's still quicker and more accessible to me. I think more than anything, though, what's like exciting about it to me as someone who lives in Queens is that like I'm going to be able to take people to this course and show them the sport that I would not have otherwise been able to.
Right.
My mom, who is very supportive of me, is not going to go to Heckscher and watch me play 21 holes. And she lives on Long Island. It's not going to happen. Like, I'm excited, and I've already spoken to some family members about it, of like getting my grandma, getting my little cousin, I even like coworkers to come down for an hour and just like throw frisbees in the sport and show them the sport that I love, even if it's on a smaller scale. Like that's the most exciting thing about the course for me, is that like I'm going to be able to share the sport that I love with other people now that this course is in the ground. And like just the fact that there's baskets in New York City allows me to do that. And that's what I love about it.
Right.
What type of course is it?
The course was very intentionally designed for new people. As we've already said, this is a city that doesn't know about disc golf, and we want people to be able to play it and not immediately be like, this sport is way too hard and it's not for me. So it's a 10-hole layout. If you've played before, every hole is definitely birdieable, but not without its challenges. A lot of different shot shapes. There's some elevation changes, a lot of mature trees. So yeah, it definitely a fun little course that, you can work on your game a little bit and definitely try to go for some ace runs. I know we've had a few people nab some already, which has been exciting.
Would you categorize it like, have you played the ace place?
Yes, I played the ace place. I would say there's a little bit more meat to it than that, for sure.
Yeah. For me, as I would say, intermediate level of disc golf, it's a very interesting course still, with like the variety of shot shapes, the mature trees you have to go around, the elevation changes, and just like the landscape of the park is really nice and kind of cool that there's 10 holes of disc golf in this beautiful park now. So yeah, and we also have 11 baskets there. There's one practice basket as well in a really nice patch of grass, which serves as a really good like putting practice area.
And it's like right by the entrance to the park. So like people are going to see that and are going to be like, what is that thing?
Yeah. We've already been having, like when we're running events, since it's been installed in the ground, there's so much intrigue and just curiosity of what these baskets are in the ground. And it's really cool to see. So still going to take a little while for people to fully understand, but so many people have already been interested and been given discs by some of our members. And we just led a community event last Saturday, for example, on the 18th, and several people joined us in the morning and were playing disc golf the whole rest of the day, especially these two like teenagers that I can think of. We gave them a disc. I swear by the end of it, I saw one of them get their first flex shot. He was just getting better so quickly. So I'm just excited for all the new people that are going to have disc golf stick for them as a result.
Yeah, the kid had like a 70-foot throw in on his first.
Oh, yeah.
That was cool to see.
Yeah.
There's definitely some really cool design features about it. If I'm going to compare it to the Ace Place, the Ace Place is, it's tight and it's wooded and it has some guardian trees you have to navigate. This one in Highland has got some like really unique greens that take some, thought when approaching. Like hole 1, the basket is on the side of a small like downslope. And so it's very easy to come up short and now you have a kind of death putt, or go long and now you have this 35-foot, uphill putt. And so like you have to approach it with like this kind of nose up, very soft landing if you want to be parked, which I thought was like super impressive. Hole 7, which I think is the best hole in the course. I think you could pop that hole in on almost any other disc golf and it wouldn't stick out as, being like an Ace Place or, a gimme or whatever you want to call it. But it's like kind of a low ceiling, high floor up the hill shot, which takes, some skill. And so like there's some really cool design features that you're not going to see at the Ace Place, but that it utilizes, the terrain of the park really, really well.
Totally.
Who designed the course, and was 10 just for space?
Yeah, the course design process was really interesting as well. To answer your second question first, the reason there's 10 is recognizing that space is at a premium in New York City, and we were working in Highland Park and had approval for this area. There was enough space for 10 holes. So we thought, let's put as many holes in as we can safely rather than just doing 9 because that's a traditional layout. So that was the main reason for 10, is just we had the space. And the course design process went like this. And actually, before I get into it, this also relates to the course design. But I said earlier, it takes a village that got the course in the ground in New York City. Another huge aspect of this course was the Paul Macbeth Foundation.
God damn it, that was going to be my next question. But some of you are going to answer it anyways.
Yes, so I will chime in on this, but feel free to ask the question after. But probably about 6 or 8 months after starting the conversations with New York City Parks, reached out to the Paul Macbeth Foundation to see if they would be interested in funding the course. And they immediately expressed interest and just became such a great partner for us on obviously funding, which was another big reason the course was able to be installed as quickly as it was because it's not public dollars that funded the installation or the baskets or tee pads. It was fully funded by the Paul Macbeth Foundation and a series of donations that were donated to the foundation. So yeah, that was just another aspect to this. Another thing that they did is they helped us with the course design. So the process worked like this. The park was scouted out first by me. It actually ended up being the top choice on the short list due to its transit accessibility, the way that it would present more of a beginner-friendly course. And then kind of determined that we wanted to have the flow of the course branch out from the entrance closest to the public transit stop rather than from the parking lot. So we had a general flow. And then Hoyle and I each went to the park on our own in an attempt to try to not bias one another. And thinking through this flow, we developed our own preliminary layout of what the holes might look like. This ended up, once we kind of talked with one another about our desired layouts and the pros and cons of each of the holes, this ended up being very close to like what the final layout was. So we kind of laid the groundwork with the preliminary design. And then where the Paul Macbeth Foundation comes in is at the point where we started getting deeper into conversations with the Parks Department and we were getting close to preparing our final design for them. The Paul Macbeth Foundation sent one of their course designers to New York City. His name's Paul Wright. He's an awesome guy. He actually stayed in my apartment for a week and just kind of couch surfing. Or actually, I gave him my room and I was couch surfing. But we spent that week scouting out multiple parks in the city for future courses. But the main objective was finalizing the design for Highland Park. So We went out to the course with him, me, Hoyle, and another one of our board members of the New York City Disc Golf Association, showed him our proposed layout and just worked with him on like final tweaks to mostly really focus on the safety of the course and get the final locations of like the tee pads and the baskets. So his expertise in course design was like instrumental in just going from 80% to 100% and really buttoning it all up into a safely designed course, given the fact that there are a lot of walking paths in the park and there are a lot of pedestrians. So yeah, it was a very collaborative effort between like the New York City Disc Golf Association and the Paul Macbeth Foundation.
Yeah, I was just going to ask like how the Paul Macbeth Foundation got like involved, and then what do they actually like provide in the whole course of putting the course in. But you already answered it, so that was perfect.
Yeah, good question.
I think Bender, I think you mentioned somewhere, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe it was in the announcement from the Paul Macbeth Foundation. How was UDisc involved in it? Or were they not at all?
UDisc has been a helpful partner as well, for sure. Their involvement in the course itself was mostly in partnership with the Paul Macbeth Foundation in helping with promotion, and they'll also be sending someone out for the grand opening. But where they were really a strong partner in helping to get the course was before even reaching out to the Paul Macbeth Foundation, reached out to UDisc to ask for data on how many rounds people are playing in the New York City metro area generally. So kind of thinking through what are the 50 closest courses to New York City? Are we able to pull any data on like how much use these courses are getting? How many unique visitors are they getting? Reached out to UDisc with kind of a data request, and they totally came through. They sent us just a raw file of data, which then we were able to analyze and visualize and like put into our final proposal. And it kind of showed clearly in like a graph how much disc golf has grown in the New York City metro area. And yeah, it was definitely a strong aspect of our proposal where we could bring data suggesting that if a disc golf course comes to New York City, it's likely to be well utilized. So that was kind of how UDisc helped out from the get-go.
I could be making this up, but I remember them posting data, on social media about like disc golf accessibility, and them finding that Queens County was the least accessible county in the country or something like that, which is hilarious to me because of courses, that's where I live. And so like I would imagine, that they had like all of that data that would just make your guys' case stronger for them needing a course here in the city.
Right. Yeah, I believe you on that accessibility. I didn't see that specific stat, but I do know they create something called like the Opportunity Index, if I'm not mistaken. Which cities and regions in the world present the most opportunity for disc golf? And it's sort of a analysis of the population of a place paired with like how many courses are in the vicinity of that place. So what cities have the most population but have the fewest courses? New York City was like the top of the list for like their opportunity index. So yeah, I believe that they would have also said something about Queens County specifically.
So you guys said that this was probably the best choice from your list for a possible disc golf course. I want to ask you each to be selfish. What course would you want? What's most convenient for you? We'll go with Bender first because I go alphabet.
So this was not always part of the master plan, I promise. But I will say Highland Park, where the course is, truly is so accessible to me because I'm a big biker. And of all the parks that I think would be great candidates for courses, Highland Park happens to be closest to me as well. Though that was not one of the decision criteria, I promise. So selfishly, and based on like how I play disc golf, I do think Highland Park is a great disc golf course. But I don't necessarily think it's the best place for a full 18 layout, just based on the space available. So selfishly, I would like to see an 18-hole layout in New York City at a certain point. And I think a park such as Casino Park in Queens, Antonio, you'll be happy.
Oh, I grew up at Casino Park. I love Casino Park.
I think Casino Park would be great for an 18-hole layout. Not quite as accessible by the subway, but I just think it's such a beautiful park in a string of parks out in Eastern Queens that you can just basically be in Parkland the whole time on your way out to Casino Park, because you can go through Flushing Meadows, Corona. You can go all the way from Forest Park up through Flushing Meadows, Corona, out to Casino Park. You're in a park the entire time. So I think that's a park I would love to see one in. And that would hopefully solve the problem of Queens County being the... Yeah. But the last thing I'll say is Highland Park is split in half by the border of Brooklyn and Queens. So like half of the park is in Brooklyn, half is in Queens. And where the disc golf course is, I believe 3 of the holes are in Brooklyn and the other 7 holes are in Queens. So it's just kind of an interesting accessibility thing where people from multiple boroughs kind of have this as a new amenity in their park.
Heck yeah. So Hoyle, what would be your dream location for a course?
I would say, ironically, Highland Park's, I guess, sister park, Forest Park. And that's mainly because I'm a woods golfer. It's really what I love to play in Forest Park. If they would allow us to cut some trees down and shape some fairways, would make for some fantastic woods golf. So that one kind of pops to my mind as number one. Other than that, I mean, there are so many great parks in each of the 5 boroughs, from Van Cortlandt Park to Calvert Vaux to Ocean Breeze. Like, there's so much potential here for a disc golf course. Like, we would love to see one in each of the boroughs. And beyond that, you know, you can start talking about the municipal golf courses and the potential there to maybe really build a kind of a gold tier layout to bring a little bit more challenge to New York City. So definitely a lot of opportunity, but Forest Park definitely is at the top of my list.
All right. And Antonio, I assume it'd be the one that Ben was talking about.
No, Casino Park is cool. Like I said, I spent a lot of time there. I'm with Hoyle. I mean, I've always thought that if it was going to happen, that Van Cortlandt in the Bronx would be a good one. I used to run, and I've talked about this with other disc golfers. I used to run cross country in that park when I was in high school, and there is just like a ton of woods. That, again, if you cleaned it up a little bit, I'm sure that you could make some fantastic tight wooded holes. And there's elevation change in there as well. So like, yeah, if I had to pick an 18-hole course in New York City, I think Van Cortlandt would be the one that I think has the most potential.
Yeah, that's one of the parks we scouted out with the course designer from the Paul Macbeth Foundation, Paul Wright. So there's confirmed so much potential in that park.
Yeah.
It said in the UDisc article that the course was approved only semi-permanent. What does that mean, and how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as of now, the course is on a 1-year pilot. We're doing monthly check-ins with the Parks Department to basically talk through how the course is being utilized and just making sure it fits in with like the long-term vision of the park. So it's kind of on a 1-year trial period. And at the end of that, if it is determined that this is an amenity that the park wants to see remain, then it would become not on a trial period and more truly permanent. Since this is so new to New York City, when making the pitch to the community and making sure this is really something for them and something that the local neighbors to the park want in their park, it was created on sort of a pilot basis. And yeah, so that kind of puts some responsibility on us to make sure we continue that community engagement and really share the joys and spill the secret of disc golf with as many people as we can in and around Highland Park. So after these monthly check-ins with the Parks Department, towards the end of next spring, I guess, about a year from now is when we will kind of know for certain if the course will be staying.
Is there anything listeners can do to, sort of help that, to make sure that it does stick around?
Yes, definitely. It's funny. It's like kind of cliche, but I just last week became a PDGA member because because of the grand opening for the disc golf course. The Paul Macbeth Foundation asked for me to officially sign up, which I was totally happy to do. I just hadn't done it previously.
What's your PDGA number?
Ooh, let me grab my thing real quick, and I can tell you.
You're supposed to have it tattooed on your arm.
Yeah, he'll come to work and have it off the top of his head.
148343.
269, 420. It might be over 300,000 now, or close to it.
That's what I was curious about, to be honest.
Okay, sorry about it. I got it. Any guesses?
269, 420. Is that close?
It is 287-370.
Kind
of close.
That was a week ago?
A week ago, yep.
Okay.
So why I brought that up, I just became a PDGA member and they sent me their disc golfer's code, which is something I had seen before, but I know it's kind of cliche, but truly I think it does a good job of sharing like what people can do at this course in New York City to help it to stick around. And the three kind of pillars are play smart, respect the course, represent the sport. So yeah, I think in this course, it's shorter distances. It's in a public park with a lot of walkways. We really hope people use slower speed discs. You don't need a distance driver on this course. You don't need these beefy, heavy discs with a really sharp beveled edge that could hurt someone if you grip lock or something like that. So we're really hoping people continue to play smart and not throw into blind areas or when people are walking on the path, and just recognize that it is a more heavily trafficked course than maybe some suburban or rural courses that they're used to playing. And being a good steward of the course and like of the land would also be helpful for making our case. When you see if it's litter on the course, if it's, God forbid, vandalism on the course, reporting it to us in the New York City Disc Golf Association, or you yourself kind of leaving no trace and making sure to leave the course better than you found it. Those sorts of things will help to make the case that disc golf is a positive presence in the park and not a negative presence in the park, and really just helping to spill the secret of disc golf amongst all of the new players. So like when you see people in the park who are curious and have no idea what you're doing, rather than just walking on, take a moment to talk to them, to tell them what the basket is, show them how to throw real quick, rather than like needing to keep track of your score on every single hole. If someone's curious, like take a couple minutes out of your day to share it with them, because I think once this becomes a sought after activity for the kids and the families that are around the park, it will be here to stay, no doubt. So yeah, that's kind of what I would summarize as the ways that your listeners can help to keep this course around in New York City. Hoyle, is there anything you want to add to that?
That was great. The only thing I would add is if we are doing a lot of outreach on our own to try to connect to schools and other organizations that we think might be interested in learning about this course. But if anyone has contacts, within the education system where we can connect more with kids and teach them about disc golf or anything like that, that would be super helpful for us just to continue to make those inroads and relationships here in the city.
Totally agree. Great point.
You can email us at contact@nycdga.org if you've got anything.
So when you switched it was the Brooklyn Disc Golf Club, and then it became what?
Well, originally it was Double Bogey Disc Golf was how we started, and then felt like we should evolve to Brooklyn Disc Golf Club. And then sometime late summer of 2023, we kind of decided we wanted to represent all of the city and not feel like this was something that was just meant for Brooklyn or something like that. So we kind of evolved into our final form, the New York City Disc Golf Association, which is a registered 501c3 nonprofit as well.
I was going to ask, what was the thought behind that?
The thought was just we wanted to, I guess, be more than just a disc golf club that hosts, league or glow round or, have an A spot. Like we really do want to engage the city and try to do good. Our mission is to help grow disc golf here and teach people about the sport and share that with everyone. So we decided to formalize as a nonprofit to help us achieve those goals.
Nice.
And Hoyle, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have tags. You can become a member, right? So if anybody wants to, become a member and support you guys that way, you can do that as well, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're almost to our 60th member. So we're slowly growing and we have tags. We're starting our Sunday league at Highland Park. That'll kick off on June 2nd. So definitely. Yeah, tags are very present within the club.
Is there a Facebook page for that to follow?
We do have a Facebook page. We have an Instagram. I would say most of our activity, honestly, is on our Discord. It's where all of our conversation and just, field trip planning or just kind of trying to get the word out for events is there. We're also on Meetup where we post our events. And then the league, we also have on UDisc. So we're trying to be in a few different places that you can find us.
And the results are posted on UDisc?
Results of the league?
Like the league, when it happens, of course.
Oh, that's a great question. I guess so. I hadn't really... Yes, now that you say it, absolutely. We might as well post the results there. I know that we currently have our bag tags listed on Disc Golf Scene as well, but we might transition that to UDisc if that's where we're keeping track of scores and everything.
Do you guys have any other events coming up?
Yeah, we have... I guess it's technically a bag tag round. It's just not at Highland. At Calvert Vaux on May 26th at 7 a.m., one of our members, Eugene Mim, who's taken a lot of great photos that you've probably seen, I think, in the UDisc article or elsewhere. He has designed an 18-hole layout, kind of his home park here in South Brooklyn, and he wants to show it off and wanted to host an event. So that's something that we're doing this weekend. We have our putting league coming back soon to Greenwood Park, which is a bar kind of in South Slope as well. So putting league kicking back off. And then we have a monthly glow round at Prospect Park on Thursdays. So we've got a few things going on. We just had a member ask if they could start doing doubles as well. So I think we're going to see a few more events pop up as well. And we've tried to do a few different fun things. We just had a disc dyeing event in Central Park, try to do more like disc golf adjacent activities as well. Take a break from throwing a disc and, do some artwork instead.
I would love to do another clinic if that's something that people want. I had a lot of fun doing it the last time, and so I definitely would love to do it again.
Let's definitely do it. Yeah, 100%. That would be great.
Corey, you have to come to it, okay?
Antonio, there's nothing you could tell me that I'm going to learn from. Not because there's nothing I can't learn, but because I'm stubborn.
And another big event is the grand opening of Highland Park Disc Golf Course. So it is currently installed in the ground, but it's still considered soft opened because we're still missing T signage. But we are doing a grand opening in partnership with the Paul Macbeth Foundation and New York City Parks on June 15th, which is a Saturday. I believe we'll have some exciting members of the Paul Macbeth Foundation in attendance. I'll leave it at that. And we might have some other heavy hitters in the disc golf industry there. Kind of plan for the event is to show off disc golf to the city, to local community members, and have some fun festivities. We'll have an ace race, a couple other planned games as well. But yeah, June 15th on Saturday. It's basically all day. We'll be going from about 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Drop in whenever you can. But yeah, want to plug that for everyone on the podcast as well.
You all need to come play Highland Park and let us know your thoughts. It'd be great to throw around with all of you. Corey, it'd be a good reason to come into the city finally.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely.
If anything's going to, it's probably going to be disc golf at this point.
I was in South Jersey yesterday. I was playing a triples tournament, and there was a couple of people who, I told them where I was from, were like, "Oh, did you play the new course in Highland Park?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so, people outside the immediate vicinity are at least curious about it,
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it was all over the Facebook the day it was announced.
Yeah, I think the first thing I saw was the Paul Macbeth Instagram clip or whatever, and I thought he was announcing the project just getting started. And then I heard that it was already done. I'm like, where the hell did this come from? It came out of nowhere. I was surprised that and then I saw the Udisk article and read that.
How do you keep a secret like that? I mean, I don't know if it was a secret, but it did seem low profile. Was there anything to that, or
probably by putting it in the least represented place in the entire country?
Yeah.
I think we also didn't want to jinx it. We were working with so many different people, and we wanted to make sure we didn't get ahead of ourselves. So it was more of just an internal kind of grind until it was a real thing that we could tell people about.
When the permit got approved,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Well, because what I find with disc golf, you don't necessarily need the best land in a park, but once people recognize that, hey,
Right.
this is being used now.
Right. Yeah, it brings a new use to underutilized areas of parks.
Yeah.
Which is also another message that was really resonated with the Parks Department is the presence of a positive use such as disc golf can help dissuade the presence of a more negative use such as illegal open fires, when people do barbecue pits in areas of the park they're not supposed to, or littering or vandalism or whatever it might be. Yeah, so that's another aspect of the messaging that I think really resonated with the Parks Department. Where are you all based? What's included in the Hudson Valley in your mind? All the way up to the Capital Region, all the way out to Warwick, or what's kind of in your realm?
The name, the Hudson Valley Disc Golf Podcast, was kind of a joke because they've got Central Coast Disc Golf, but they recorded a tournament at FDR. You know what I mean? There's no limits to.
I see.
I'm actually probably the closest to you guys. You mentioned Beacon. I'm across the bridge, little past Newburgh.
Oh, yeah.
But these guys are all what we would call upstaters. They're Capital Region guys.
Oh, you remember my next question I was going to have.
What's that?
I was going to ask actually Antonio, Alex, what they consider upstate.
Well, that's a good question. Probably me.
Westchester and beyond.
Wrong. So, next.
No, here's my real answer. Anywhere there's a Stewart's
Yes.
That might
Good
actually
call.
be the
That's
best
a
answer
good
I've ever
answer.
heard. How far south does Stewart's go?
I got Stewart's, but I don't know of many further south than me, to be honest.
Damn, I need to see a map of where a Stewart's is, because I'm going to be honest. I've asked this question to a lot of people and always considered them wrong because they say the line is way too south. But if there's a Stewart's, then you're in upstate New York. That might be the best answer I've ever heard.
Oh, I love Stewart's so much. It's my guilty pleasure.
Have you had the waffle and chicken sandwich?
No, but I will get it next time. I'm actually going up to the Adirondacks this week, so I can even get it soon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Corey, are you actually checking on Stewart's on the map?
Their website shows like a itemized list of other locations, but they don't put it on a map. I don't know where some of these places are. I'm not gonna. I can't search this.
Beacon doesn't have anything like franchised. And further south on that side of the river, I would be surprised if there was a Stewart's. It'd be on my side of the river. There might be a few south of me, but not very. Like Washingtonville, which is a few miles away.
Okay, so a Google Map suggests that there's some Stewart's near like the Legoland Resort.
That's Goshen area.
Yeah, that's a little too south for me to be considering that upstate, but I get it.
That's on the way to Warwick.
Oh, yeah, I see it. I see the one near Goshen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the farthest south I've ever been at Stewart's is Kingston.
Oh, my.
I've played a couple courses in what you would consider upstate New York. My favorite was, I really liked Crandall Park in Glens Falls. You guys played there?
Oh, well, I just happen to know a guy that might have put that place in.
Did you? No way.
No.
One of you?
Yeah, that's the. I was part of the design and build team of Crandall.
No way. I thought you did a phenomenal job. I played it with 8 of my other friends. We had like an annual trip that we do, college friends of mine. All 8 of them, it was their first time playing disc golf. We went there, maybe not first time ever playing disc golf, but first time playing at like a full 18 layout. Everyone had a blast, even me, who is more of the experienced disc golfer, and then all of the newbies as well. I thought that was such a fun course.
Thanks. That's the idea with Crandall. It was the first course in the area within probably 20 miles. So I mean, it's hard to call Glens Falls a city when you're talking to people who live in New York City, but it's a city by our standards.
Right.
There's a lot of people in and out of that place, so making it very accessible and something that people could learn a lot on was really important. Which sounds like a lot what you guys did in Highland. I'm definitely going to get down there over the summer and check it out. I'm excited.
Totally.
I also happen to live like 2 blocks away.
Oh, cool. I'll let you know next time I'm coming through there.
Yeah, please.
Let us know when you're in the city. Like, I love hosting and would love to show you around New York City. Not just the disc golf course, but also all the amazing food we have here, different sites that most people don't think of when they think of New York City. Most people think of just Manhattan, but there's so much more to the city. Antonio's probably the Queens expert, but I love going out there as well. But yeah, definitely let us know when you come to the city.
Absolutely. And a lot of the people who listen to the podcast are from all over the place. And I know a lot of them are going to be visiting this course at some point soon. What is the best restaurant that you suggest close to the park, if you have any?
This is interesting.
I've got
Hoyle
one.
just went to one the other day that he was raving about. What was it called again?
Well, so it's Super Pollo to go, and if you're a member of the club, you get 10% off. So I might be able to buy
nice.
it.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a couple main commercial streets near the park, like Fulton Street and Jamaica Avenue, even Atlantic Avenue a little bit further away. If you just walk down one of those streets, Fulton Street in particular, every other door is going to be a great local food spot. So, yeah, you kind of can't go wrong around there.
Anything vegan? I mean, vegetarian?
Definitely. I think the prevalence of that in New York City is pretty solid.
It's everywhere.
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I just know a lot of my friends who are vegan and vegetarian have no shortage of good options kind of all over the place. So I think you would be able to find a good option.
Very cool. I'm excited to get down there and check out the area and play the course. I will definitely let anybody with an A name know that I'll be down there.
Yeah.
Pick up Alex spots on the way.
Just send out an all call.
Yeah.
Pick up Alex.
Jamin, I'm just realizing as you guys are discussing this, I also have played Crandall Park.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and I, before I, knew that you were involved in it, based off this conversation, I was also singing the praises of that course as being a really, really fun, really well-designed, shorter 18-hole disc golf course. And so it's funny finding out now that you were so heavily involved in that.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, I grew up the next town over. So putting in courses in this area has been a ton of fun and a very interesting experience. Kind of getting the chance to reimagine the parks that I would play at when I was a little bit younger is a wild time. I understand how cool putting courses in and how much fun it can be. I can only imagine putting one in a city like New York City. That's gotta, just speaking from experience, like right now, having the course there is cool, but in 2 years, talking to people who play that course all the time and that being the one where you found disc golf is good. You guys are in for a pretty surreal ride. It just gets cooler and cooler as it goes.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I cannot wait for the first pro disc golfer who grew up playing at Highland Park decades from now.
Absolutely.
Jamin, how many courses have you helped install or design? Do you have a number?
If I thought about it, yeah, but a few.
It's like your aces. You need a couple minutes.
Gave up counting a long time ago.
I don't count stuff very often, I'll be honest.
No, that's cool.
Was it hard in Glens Falls to get a course put in? What was the kind of process there compared to the process I outlined in New York City?
So the Crandall process, it was actually like flipped. The people came to disc golf and said that they wanted to get a course in there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. So the property itself was once owned by Henry Crandall, who was like a lumber baron. He's one of the guys that was way back in the day, like floating logs down the Hudson and plucking them out at lumber mills. And he donated his estate to the city of Glens Falls to be used as a park. And one of the things that he really liked was golf. So that was kind of in the, I forgot what the legal term for it is, or I guess the charter, for lack of a better word, for the park was that they wanted golf included in it somehow. And so there's this like old sign out front that says like golfing area.
Huh.
And one of the local movers and shakers, Elizabeth Hogan, had taken up creating the Crandall Park Beautification Committee, which got pickleball courts and resurfaced tennis courts and basketball courts and a splash pad, added like exercise equipment to the playground, all sorts of kind of cool things. And she had heard about disc golf a little bit and was like, well, that might be a way to fulfill that aspect of the original intent of the park.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it was super cool. We were able to use some very underutilized areas that, were basically just drinking spot for Glens Falls' youth for decades, kind of get rid of some of the invasive shrubs and vines and stuff and open up the forest a lot.
Wow. Crandall would be so proud.
I hope so.
Henry Crandall.
I don't know if he likes Frisbees. Frisbees actually probably weren't invented, so.
He would have liked them if they were made out of lumber.
That's true, yeah.
Some of them are. I've seen some trophies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
Kisco.
They sound horrendous hitting chains, though. Wood hitting chains, it's the worst sound you've ever heard. Whereas,
Really?
like, plastic hitting chains sounds like nice.
Pretty sure I have a MA2 trophy at my cube at work that is a wooden disc.
Have you ever tried to throw it?
I would not disgrace something so significant. What if I don't mean this is going to crack down right down the middle the first time I do that?
What was it a trophy for?
Like an MA2 win.
Okay, MA2.
He doesn't have a lot of trophies, Pat. He can't.
I know, you'd think he'd be able to come off the top of his head. Like, oh, yeah, MA2, 2020. Yeah,
I wasn't sure if I mentioned it before in the beginning.
I don't listen to you half the time. I figure it's going to be a year, like you guys said. It's the probational period, so you're not really looking at any other courses in the short term.
We are. It depends on the appetite from the New York City Parks Department, but there are also good state parks. There's universities, there's high school campuses, there's even national parkland in New York City that could host a disc golf course. So New York City Parks Department isn't the only jurisdiction that might play host to a good disc golf course. So we are still in conversations. Also municipal golf courses. I think there's about a dozen in the city, 11 or so. So we are still putting more irons in the fire and laying the groundwork for other courses because Highland Park, though it's accessible to a lot of people, it's not accessible to everyone in the city. So we would like to get another course. In regards to public parks courses, though, I think it still has to be seen kind of how it is utilized before we would get approval for another course. But conversations will be had about some other locations in the parks department as well.
I mean, obviously there's baskets in the ground. You mentioned there's no tee signs yet. What are the tee areas like?
The tee areas are all turf. Yeah, so it's like a nice turf 5x10. So it's like actually a pretty sizable tee pad staked into the ground. Tee signs are coming. It's just signage is handled by the Parks Department. So they're just working to get it installed before the grand opening. But we've been working with them on designing the T signs and just making sure we have all the right information in regards to maps, notes for each hole, as well as the distances. So it's currently in the works and should be installed before the grand opening on June 15th.
Is the course on UDisc?
It is. It's marked as under construction because there's no signage yet, but the map can be found on UDisc, which is the best way to navigate the course right now.
So does that mean that you cannot create a scorecard, or you can?
You can.
Because I was going to ask if you've seen, like, for how long UDisc has been accessible for the course, have you seen any numbers?
We have. So there's already 51 ratings on the course.
Wow.
4.7 rated currently.
Heck yeah.
And in the background, real quick, I can pull up the ambassador dashboard and see how many players have played, because I'm curious.
When I played, I created a scorecard and left a review, just like you would any other course. It wasn't any different.
Except you were a little bit nicer, right?
oh yeah, no. Said it was the most beautiful course I've ever played in my entire life.
And you played Crandall.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it opened a week and a half ago. We've had 286 rounds amongst 90 unique players.
Nice.
That's wild. That's a lot of rounds.
Yeah. I just saw this for the first time. So that's pretty cool.
I think UDisc says it's usually like 2 to 6 times more than that actually play it. Those are just the people that recorded rounds.
Yeah. And I've already seen proof of that. Like sometimes when I'm out on the course, just over the past week and a half, I've been seeing people playing sometimes with their kids or just on their own. And they're definitely not recording on UDisc. So yeah, I could see the real number being much higher. I think right now, though, probably most people that are aware of it, because we haven't quite been blasting the news out from the rooftops until the grand opening. Most of the people probably are disc golfers who use UDisc. But I do think once the grand opening happens, we continue to do more and more community outreach. The number of just kind of walk-on players who are not recording rounds will be a higher ratio, I would imagine. But we'll work on getting people to record rounds because the data will end up becoming really helpful for us in our mission to get more courses in the city.
I have another question for both of you. The first one is for Alex Hoyle.
Kind of vague. Oh, okay.
You had a not so busy day, not a lot planned. You figured not a bad time to spend 5 hours on a train to go to Kisco and back.
Mm-hmm.
Really excited though. So you run to the house, you run to the train, get on the train, you go all the way to Kisco. You're about to give the taxi driver your $5 to get a ride to the park, and you realize your bag is feeling a little light, but you're already there. You're not going to not play. So what are the 3 discs? And also, what putting putter do you use? Are you going to use to play around at Kisco? What are your 3 go-to discs for Kisco, and what do you putt with?
Oh, yeah. This is, I would say, an easy question for me. First disc, if I were going to do a 1 disc round there, I would use the Discmania Origin. That's one of my all-time favorite discs. Great for the woods. Those like flip up to straight shots I like to utilize. Putting putter, I use the Discmania Link in their Exo Soft plastic, which I like just because it's super grippy and catches chain pretty good. And if I had to pick a 3rd disc, something on the beefy side, maybe a Raptor for some of those holes that are more forehand friendly. So yeah, those are probably my 3 go-tos on that course.
A regular Raptor, not even a captain's Raptor?
I go back and forth. I just lost my captain's Raptor, unfortunately. So I'm back to my regular one, but I do like the cap wrap when I have it.
Okay, so other Alex. I won't say Alex number 2 or Alex number 1, because then that might imply that one is ahead of the other. But, so Alex B, your situation is a little different because, you just said that taking the subway is longer than just riding your bike. So I don't know, you hop on your bike, you're riding to Highland Park. You got ready a little too fast as well, and it takes you too long to realize that your bag is feeling a little bit light. Might be a little easier question because you said Highland Park's a little more shorter and condensed, but what 3 discs are you hoping are in your bag to play around at this new course?
You ask a very good question. And this is an interesting question in particular right now because
you only own 2 discs?
I only own 2 discs. No, just I'm actually starting a small business that is making discs. So I've been prototyping discs, and it's kind of all I've been throwing lately are prototype discs. But the hope for this small business is to have a set of discs that are just a great introduction to the sport and help people get those moments that help make disc golf stick. So also because I have a slower arm speed, I'm a bit more of a casual player. I've been playing with lighter weight discs just generally. And yeah, been kind of hoping to have a mold that can give someone their first flex shot, help someone park their first disc, and give someone their first ace is kind of like the line of 3 discs. So that's all I've been playing with recently. And the 3 molds, not yet released, but I'm launching a Kickstarter for it next month. But they're called the Park, which is like the slow speed throwing putter and putting putter. The Bridge, which is a more of a traditional approach disc, and then the Metro, which is like a 5-speed mid-range. And I'm starting all with slower speed discs because it's a great introduction to the sport. And that's kind of how I, in my arm speed, get the most distance anyway.
I don't want to like project or anything or like draw conclusions, but they seem awfully New York City inspired, the names.
They are.
So when you say that they're throwable, they're prototypes, like are they 3D printed? How have you manufactured these discs? Or were they like outsourced?
Yeah, outsourced to a contract manufacturer. So I've been working with various disc golf manufacturers, but ended up partnering with Gateway to help manufacture the first line of discs. So yeah, currently in prototype phase, but launching a Kickstarter next month. And the whole goal of this is to help in the mission of bringing disc golf to New York City and putting great high quality discs in the hands of as many new to disc golf New Yorkers as possible. And also a big aspect of this was really wanting to have the discs be 100% recycled plastic. So it took a long time kind of sourcing that material with them, but they will be fully recycled plastic discs as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to fit them into disc or no disc already.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the answer is they are not a disc yet.
Not yet. They will.
They're not, but they
Disc
should
or
be.
no?
The last question that I have that's a classic for both of you, not Antonio. You got to tell us what your favorite on the course beverage is. When you're playing around. What's your go-to drink? For me, if I'm at the park down the street from me, I'd have a PBR, but I know that's not, always the go-to.
I was recently persuaded by the operations manager at the Paul McBeth Foundation, Zachary Smith. He's a big coconut water guy because of the electrolytes that are in it, which I did not realize. So I'm a newcomer to the coconut water scene, but big fan.
Sounds like a Jamin answer.
I was just thinking, man, coconut water sounds great right now.
It's a very good question. I'm one of those people that every time I go to the store and pick up a drink, it's something new. I don't have a whole lot of classics, So it's a tough thing for me to answer. But you know what drink I have been liking lately? Not alcoholic, but it is caffeinated. Yerba mate. There's so many varieties of yerba mate, but just getting a easy canned option at like a local bodega here in New York City, I've been really enjoying those.
You're like the third person that we've asked that question to with that answer in the last 6 months or so. Yeah.
Really? Because that's the first time I remember hearing it.
Oh, that's Tucker Kozlowski.
Oh, okay.
And
Josh something?
Board game Josh?
Oh, Josh Isaac.
Josh Isaac.
He's another New York City guy, I think.
So what about off the course beverage?
Also tea related, but my roommate actually runs a tea nonprofit. So we have a constant stream of really nice teas. And my favorite is a nice oolong tea. That's as of recently, especially because of him always brewing up a lot of tea at his various events. It's called the Tea Stand NYC. I've been really enjoying oolong tea.
All right.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I'm looking this up right now.
What does the tea nonprofit do?
It's a community building endeavor by basically creates spaces for people to connect with one another over a cup of tea. So he'll set up a makeshift living room of sorts in different public parks across New York City and invite people in for free tea. It's always free. And he's launching a membership program to help kind of support the mission this July. But he basically goes around to different New York City parks, serves tea for free, creates connections, and sparks up conversations with people. And he also runs some more tailored events. Like he'll do an event called Steeped in Sound, which is a DJ set in a Brooklyn apartment with another friend. And it happens in a Sunday afternoon in the nice lighting, and free tea is being served during the event. So more about connection and conversation rather than about like partying, for example. But yeah, that's the goal of the Tea Stand NYC.
I was going to just ask you to say that name again. I would play in a tournament twice every year where there's free tea for lunch.
I'm a big tea guy. I don't drink coffee at all, but I love tea, so that sounds pretty dope.
I'm sensing a partnership with a tea stand located at the disc golf course during one of our rounds.
Yeah.
A tea truck?
I think eventually, if it keeps growing. Hoyle, what was your off the course beverage?
I'm sitting here trying to think. I don't have a great answer. A beer that I would say, are y'all familiar with Heady Topper?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely top of my list if we're going an alcoholic beverage. But if it's non-alcoholic, gosh, I did not come prepared to answer this question.
It's usually alcoholic, but we make exceptions for people that don't want to answer alcoholic questions.
Well, I'll leave it at that then. Heady Topper, definitely a choice beer. Hard to find, though.
And Corey's not going to drink oolong tea unless Utica Club makes one.
No, the crazy tea that I had was a boba tea. And I feel like that's more like a milkshake than a tea.
Calm down there, Corey. All right, don't get too crazy.
Yeah.
There's a good boba spot near the Highland Park disc golf course.
So that's exciting.
I don't understand how they can sell those things. So it just screams choking hazard. Like, let me just try to suck this tapioca ball or whatever as hard as I can through a straw that's barely big enough, and then I have it hit me in the back of the throat at 16 miles an hour.
Someone has to teach you how to drink boba.
You watch a YouTube video?
Yeah. I'll send you a link.
I want to throw in something. This is very random and it doesn't actually have anything to do with disc golf, but we've been talking about New York City parks an awful lot. There's this podcast going on right now called 99% Invisible.
Yes.
They're doing a book club for 2024 of The Power Broker, which is a book about Robert Moses, who's like the parks director for New York City and Long Island through like the Great Depression and stuff, and is one of the guys that like really got like Jones Beach going. He got almost all of the parkways that are downstate. He's the one that did all those. So if you're interested in learning more about New York City parks, that's a really good series that's going on for the rest of the year.
Yes. I've actually heard of this exact 99% Invisible series because I'm a big transit nerd and urbanism nerd, I guess. So I'm plugged into this space a little bit. But the Power Broker is it's kind of the easiest way to be consumed is in podcast form with 99% Invisible because it's such a dense book.
Yeah. I haven't read it, but from what I understand, it's 1,200 pages long. And it's about a municipal worker. So
right.
Sounds very interesting if you're into how parks work, but I just thought it was a pretty topical considering everything.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I know Robert Moses liked building highways through neighborhoods. I don't know how much he would have liked building disc golf courses, but I am curious to learn. I wish we could ask him if he would have liked disc golf courses or not.
It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, like he demolished a bunch of neighborhoods, built like the Triborough Bridge Authority, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Tried to build a throughway down Fire Island, but failed. But like he also made like the Central Park Zoo and completely redid New York City parks in like 1 year in like the 20s. So he's done a lot of really amazing things, but at the same time, did some pretty shitty things as well.
Notably very racist, if I recall correct.
Yes, I can only imagine that everything that he did was at the feet of disenfranchised people.
Right. Well, I'm so grateful that you guys had us on. This was honestly such a fun chat, and I really like what you're doing with the podcast. Antonio, thank you for like making the connection. Pat, thank you for coordinating everything, and it was really fun talking to you all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, same. You guys were very cool, very well spoken. Obviously, like you guys and everyone else you guys worked with kind of pulled off impossible feat, and be cool to watch to see how what comes of it in the future too.
Thanks, everyone.
Later, man.
Thanks again for coming on.
Of course.
Great talking with you.
Yes.
You too.
So last week in disc golf, we had Monday Colonial Acres dubs. David Gieslin and Christopher Evanchuk shot a -8 for second place, and Willie Harrison and Mark Bryan are your winners at -10. Gunks Monday dubs. Tom Kay and Jackson Quinn won it with a -7. Also on Monday, Prospect Park dubs. Christopher Dahl and Earl Steenberg won with a -13. Saratoga Spa random dubs. Tyrone Culpepper and Peter Hodge shot a -13 to win. Tuesday, we had J-Dub's Points Championship Week 9. How'd that go, Corey?
Weather was great. Turnout was poor. We played J South, which I personally think is the best 18-hole layout, and it was the nicest weather we've had all year. But only 11 people showed up, including myself, which is fine. It made it easy to make cards. Chad Larson and AT, Andrew Tighe took it down, 9 down. Also got the birdie bank. And actually, no, that's not true. Chad beat out Muccelli for the CTP on hole 6. Muccelli and JT Downey came in second, and they got the birdie bank. Then I played with Danny Parton and took down 3rd place at 6 down.
All right. I didn't have 3rd place on my list, but,
Yeah.
that far down.
Well, top 2 only got paid, too, so I shouldn't have even mentioned my team.
All good. Kisco Tuesday dubs. Mitchell Pipes and Chris Coe came in second at -12. Chris Schofield and Sean Ryan took it down at -15. What about CTK Singles League, Jamin?
So we had a good day. We had 6 people out playing. It was a little light. I think there was like a possibility of some rain in the forecast, which kept some people home. I know some injuries as well, but it was good. The weather held off the entire time. It rained for like maybe a minute the entire round. I got some more weed whacking done, which was nice. I'm going to be getting some more weed whacking done tomorrow because I forgot that Paint Bureau Pro League is happening. So I'm going to try to get that as nice looking as I possibly can. I think a lot of people will be happy to know that I've attempted to weed whack the nettles, and it seems to not affect you when you weed whack them. So I'm gonna keep getting rid of all the nettles at CTK behind hole 2's basket, and it's not going to punish me, which is awesome. So as far as results, Bobby Hallam for the 2nd week in a row played as far as what I think might have been his PR on the course. He shot even last week, and this week he shot 1 under. But the nice thing is with the magic of handicaps, he started off the season at a 7 handicap, and he's now down to a 3 handicap. So as far as I could tell, a 4-point drop in your handicap when you're that close to 0 to begin with is that's the biggest drop I've seen yet. So that's cool. It's nice to see some players coming out and putting out some good scores and really challenging their own handicaps. But overall, it went well. We've got all the daylight in the world we need right now, which is awesome.
So Wednesday we had Stony Kill Random Dubs. How'd that go, Alex? Pots!
It was a good one. We got the pavilion is all installed, so we got to try that out for the first time. Nice to have a little shelter. Not that it was particularly necessary today.
Do you have to duck?
That day. Because I'm stepping up into it, like I don't need to worry about it. It's pretty much the same as a regular doorway. So like if I'm not paying attention, I can hit my head, but most of the time I don't.
Does it have power yet?
No power yet. That's a little bit of a later
that's something
development.
That would take some time, I would imagine.
They've been talking about setting up better lighting in the back of the parking lot. So they're going to, as part of that, they're going to run power up to there, or at least that's the plan.
Dig it.
As far as the round itself, I continued my streak of playing on the same card as the people who won it. It was myself and Rory Tice, who played very well a couple weeks back. And we did all right. We shot 9 down, but Jim Abdu and Greg Kurtz shot 12 down. So that's tough to beat. They did end up tying with Tyler Cockcroft and Andrew Dorrell, and Jim and Greg ended up winning a playoff there.
Also on Wednesday, we had Shen Creek Dubs Week 7. Tie for second between Dan McRae and Ryan Lawrence. They shot -7, as well as Dylan Marsing and Jim Burns. Your winners, Cody Miller and Daryl Menton at -9. Deadbeat Dubs, nope. See you next week. I think it was raining. But then we got Paint Bureau Pro League, Season 4 Front 9. Corey, did you play this week? Was it round 3?
Yeah, I think we played Jay North. I didn't play good. It's just been like a thing so far this year. That's about it. I was getting really lucky. I've seen some luck that round I had never seen before in my life. You had to be there to know, I guess. But I got really lucky and still didn't do great. So it was also a great weather day, and not as many people showed up, which kind of stunk. But Jay Park is a bit of a drive for some of the quote unquote semi-regular players that come to Pro League. So it'd be tough getting there after work.
Antonio, you've played Paint Bureau Pro League before, right?
I played it once at Minekill the week before Minekill last year. I drove up there to practice the course and then just stuck around to play the league.
Heck yeah.
Otherwise, too far for me to go.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of Minekill, looks like Jason won with a 59, 1 stroke over last week's winner, Harrison Lehman, a.k.a. Jason's Mechanic. Thursday, This Week Club Year 2 played SPW Whites. Todd Everlith came in third, got 5 points. Ben Pickering in second with 6 points. And Steve Catula was your winner at 7 points and $16. Overall standings top 5. Steve Catula in fifth at 28. Anthony Stamboli in fourth at 32 points. Mark Stryker in third with 43 points. Greg Kurtz in second at 44.5 points. And your leader with 56 points, Kevin Cronk. CPS Thursday dubs, Christopher Evan Chuck and James Black came in third at -8. Charles Gordon Jr. the third and Thomas Rascona came in second at -11. And Tyler Gannon and Mike Wiest of the Mississippi were your winners at -12. Friday, Disc Golf Journey League. Alex, did you play?
I did. It was Jay West, which is my favorite layout at Jay Park. Played with Jason. It was Zach McDonald and Peter Lundstedt rounded out the card. They played well. Jason was just absolutely popping off, though. Yeah, I want to say he shot 8 down on Jay West.
Got him at a 49.
Yeah, absolutely crushing it. But yeah, he was getting all the bonus birdies. Like, he got the kiln hole. He got the one where you just played 13, which is the par 4.
14.
And then you go across. I would assume it's 14, but you can't trust Jay
Oh,
Park.
come on, Alex. That one's sequential.
It's right across the road, and it's uphill and way to the right, and there's a whole bunch of trees in the way. And he just had a 20-foot putt, just absolutely laced the drive. So he was getting all sorts of birdies there. So yeah, it was fun playing with him. I played all right. I shot 4 down, feeling pretty good about that. Lost my tag to Jason, though, so it happens.
Looks like Mike Warner won the green division. Brandon Medina won the red division. Alex Potts in the white division. And Jason Lasasso won the gold division. Had I played, I would have came in second. Dang it. SPW Dubs League had a 3-way tie for second, so they don't get mentioned. The 3-way tie for second was at -6. Your winners at -7, Mark Stryker and Charles Gordon. I assume that's Charles Gordon Jr. the third. I believe on Saturday, Wedge had their monthly. Antonio, were you there?
I was.
What do you got?
We played alternating whites on odds and then even yellows. A couple of the holes are under construction at the tee pad, so we played in front of them, or on hole 7 specifically, we played from the drop zone. But it was a beautiful day. I think there was 11 people that came out total. Me and Ryan Nelson played on the same card together. It was me, Ryan, Mitch Pipes, I think that's how you say his last name, and then Pat Rowan, so it was a good card. Ryan started out 5 for 5, so he was like on fire to start. You couldn't miss a putt. Hit a little bit of a wall. But ended up me and Ryan finished at 10 down, and Mitch Pipes took it down with 11 down, including he hit an ace on hole 2 yellow. So the ace was kind of the deciding factor. He beat us by 1.
And Matt Strickrod won the B pool at a -3.
You're not going to ask Antonio about his overuse of me and somebody, me and this person.
Pat asked me the question, Corey.
Yeah, but it's always like, oh yeah, Corey uses bad grammar and uses me and Kyle or me and Brian instead of Brian and I get called out about it.
I haven't mentioned that in like 6 months, Corey, because I just gave up. Ryan Nelson sent me some audio. He says that is a wrap-up for the Wedge Monthly.
Hey, Pat. Figured I'd give you guys an update and some context for last week in disc golf. We had the Wedge Monthly held at FDR this Saturday. We had 11 fine folks come out. We played an alternating layout of white odds and yellow evens, which definitely confused the hell out of me. I definitely threw the long basket on hole 16, which was a bummer. But highlight of the day, Mitch Pipes taking it down with a 11 down, and most notably a ace on hole 2 on the yellow. Nice sweeping left to right anhyzer, nice and high over the bush, dropped out of the sky right into the bucket with a mid-range Prodigy M4, I believe. And that was just enough to give him the stroke advantage over Antonio and I, who both finished with a 10 down, Mitch with the 11. So congrats to Mitch. It was a beautiful, beautiful ace and a really solid round. And that's all I got. Cheers. Let's go Rangers. Sorry about your Bruins, Randy.
It was a great clip. I mean, I really enjoyed listening to it.
Sunday, Disc Cap Tag League, the Mindkill Disc Golf Championship warm-up. Ryan Yaddo came in third at +2, Jay O'Leary in second at even, and Kyle Denman took it down at -6. The Shen Creek Upshot League had their second week, no results, but they will probably have the third week next week. So if you want to get out to Shen Creek Sunday Upshot. Skyland made 2024 monthly Oasis Construction Reds. Joey Apples won the A pool with a -6. Jacob Driscoll, also -6, won the B pool. And Frank Bassick won the C pool at a +3. Also on Sunday was the women's global events. Were they all on Sunday or were some of them on Saturday?
The Maple Hill one was a 2-day, so Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, okay. So from Seth Wilson, of the 3 women's global events covered this weekend, it's probably not too surprising. The event at Maple Hill was fully loaded with NIFA member podium finishers representing Massachusetts, New York, and New Hampshire. What kind of update you got, Alex?
I don't have a ton personally because I wasn't there, but my mom and my sister both played. They complained about the rain on Saturday, especially because the forecast was like, it wasn't supposed to start until like 4. So people showed up without as much rain gear. It ended up raining pretty steadily from like 10 o'clock on through the rest of the day. But between all the different people that were there from Discap Land, I think there was 10 to 12 players and, all throughout different tee times. But, people were running out to caddy for other players, deliver umbrellas and extra towels and all sorts of things like that. And I know Kat Bemis posted on, I want to say Discap, talking about it was a really good feeling of community with everybody there. And I know my mom and my sister were feeling very much the same, where it felt nice to be, part of a group, making the trip out to a big event like this and having everybody, supporting everyone and making the trip very nice. So yeah, it was really cool to hear about all that.
All right. Well, according to Seth Wilson, FPO Carly Sharon tied for first with a +6, a hot round of -2 on Old Glory, 4 birdies, net of 2 bogeys. Catherine Maloney tied for third, just 3 strokes behind Carly for the event, only 1 stroke behind in round 2, which was a strong pickup from round 1. FPO 40, Catherine Chacha and Mindy LaFontaine shared first with a +19. FP 55, Kelly Jenks was the sole participant, but her 911 rated round deserves a shout out as the event looks to push her rating closer to 900. FA1, Kara McElroy shot second with a +10, getting the birdie on hole 17 both rounds. Kayla Hatch took first with a +13. She only had 1 stroke lead after round 1, but took stride in round 2 with 3 birdies and a hot round of +4. Caitlin Hugh took third with a +23. FA4 Julian Peters won with +28, +14 both rounds, including a birdie on 17 and a higher rated round of 790. FA40 Brittany Simpson placed second with a +19, getting a birdie on hole 6 both rounds. Lisa L., which I'm guessing is Lisa Lundquist,
I would assume,
and Shanna Pearson shared third with a +21. Shanna had the edge round 1 by 1 stroke, but gave it back round 2. FA50, Sarah Eaton placed second with a +20, getting hole 5 both rounds. And in FA55, Allie Lawler won with a +3 with 3 birdies both rounds and avoiding double bogeys round 2. Mindy McLaughlin Potts finished second with a +13. She exceeded Allie's birdie count with 4 in round 2. Round 2's +4 was great improvement to round 1's +9, but no match for Allie's event +3. What great representation of NIFA among all divisions. Congratulations and hope everyone had a blast playing Maple Hill. Did I pronounce McLaughlin right, Alec?
McLaughlin.
McLaughlin, like Sarah?
Yeah, yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to point out that +9, like the +4 was like 870 rated and the +9 was like 830 rated or something like that because of the rain. So very good scores. The write-up made it seem like the +9 was like she was definitely disappointed by it, but it was still a great round.
Yeah, that does not sound like ratings 5 points like if they were the same round.
Right,
yeah.
right.
No, that makes sense.
On Sunday, Crandall, I hosted the Women's Global event for our area. And partially because of the big giant Maple Hill tournament, we had 18 people playing, which is still awesome. Everybody had a lot of fun. One of the really cool things about our tournament is we won a Zuka all-terrain cart, which is, I think, the original kind of Zuka cart that came out for disc golf, to give away at the event because we ordered players packs within a certain period. So we ended up with one of those to give away. And the person who won it is Jill Nevels, who's been a huge supporter of the Glens Falls area disc golf and a constant staple at work days. Jill recently over the winter had a knee replaced, and she's still coming out to work days. She felt really bad because she skipped the work day where we put in some of the Jenkinsville tee pads, because if she went to that work day, she probably wouldn't have been able to finish the tournament, which is a crazy thing to feel bad about. But that's just kind of how dedicated she is to the area and building the courses and helping. So that was really awesome. I'm also currently going through the women's global events and just kind of seeing where some locals placed. And so far, I have 3 locals placing pretty high, and I'm just about done. There's one more that I'm looking for quick. There we go. We've got Beth Spalding, and I forgot to write down the division name, so oops. I think in FA 50, she finished 25th out of 165 players.
Oh.
She was at the Crandall tournament. Mindy Potts finished 4th out of 96 people. So I don't know if she knows that, Alex. But
Yeah, they were looking it up on Sunday night.
oh, nice.
Yeah, she's aware, and we're all very proud of her.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a huge accomplishment. Marcia finished 16th out of 84 in FA 60. And then Carly Spalding in Junior 18 finished 15th out of 30. So congratulations to all of them on such excellent placings in the tournament. And I know that I don't have the Maple Hill results pulled up, but I know that there were a lot of really awesome performances. Kate Clay with another over 900 weekend. Board member Kat Bemis with a really great showing in the pro field as well. Kat Chacha, I believe, tied for first. I don't know what happened with that, but that's a huge accomplishment, I think, in FP40. So a lot of local women out there showing what they can do, and that's awesome. I'm really happy to see the Women's Global event happen. I kind of wish it would happen every year, but
How often is it?
it's every other year.
And I know I'd been talking about my mom's results a bit, but I got to shout out my sister too, because she shot 790 and 834 for a 4th place finish overall, and her current rating is 724. So over 100 points better on that second day, which is awesome.
Heck yeah. I mean, Alex is stinky pot.
It's true. I am currently doing the worst in tournament results in the family.
Also, from Wedge, Eric Bowers posted no records were broken today, but Carson did get his first ever 4 on hole 5 of the ace place. He was pretty happy about it. I'd like to include that.
Nice. I love seeing Carson updates from Eric on Facebook.
Thanks, Antonio, for getting those guys on. That was cool.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
figured,
definitely.
Since I've been on here before, I know you guys, I would give you exclusive rights
Mm.
to having them,
No, it was awesome.
Your family's just tired of hearing that one episode, aren't huh?
Yeah.
Anytime, man. Anytime you want to talk about anything or just want to come out and hang out, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're 2022 Hudson Valley Disc Golf Podcast Player of the Year, so I can't say no. What are you, crazy? All right. Well, thank you, Antonio, Alex, Jamin, and Corey, and see you at Hudson Valley.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, everybody.
Alex, Jamie, Corey, you guys all playing Mindkill?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I am skipping that one to play New Jersey States the same weekend.
Where's that this year?
It's at the Grove. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of the Grove at Thompson.
Oh, I think I've played the other Thompson.
Yeah, there's Thompson Park and then there's the Grove at Thompson. Thompson Park is park style disc golf, fairly open, a lot of birdie opportunities. The Grove at Thompson is the exact opposite. It is very difficult. I think normally like tournament rounds there, even is like 990 rated.
Dang.
Yeah, like they have a par 5 on that course that is like bogey feels so good. So it's there, and then at Joe P. I'm not sure the name exactly. It's Joe P. Which I haven't played yet, so I'm gonna make my way over there. But Eric Schubert, I think you know who Eric Schubert is, but
I played with my car.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he's TDing it, and I think it's gonna be a fun event. Michael Johansson's gonna be there, which is cool. He's the highest rated player, but there's definitely some players who I guess will probably have to choose between Mindkill and this one. So
How new is the Grove? Is that a new course?
it's pretty new.
Okay.
Yeah, they've put a lot of work on it. It's a really, really good high level course. So yeah, I'm excited for that one. That's going to be my next event.
Nice. That's awesome.
Do you know what day that is?
It's June 1st and 2nd.
Oh, it's definitely full.
Yeah, it might be, but you might be able to get on the wait list. That's when you're going to want to practice before a hand Hoyle. You don't want to play that one blind.
Okay.
Pat, I got a question for you. Can you see, let's say I listen to the podcast on Spotify. Can you see that, like, I specifically listen to it? Or you just see,
No.
you just see numbers?
I can tell you. Let me take a look.
I'm asking because I want to know if you're able to see every time I go back and listen to the podcast, the episode where I'm on. If you get like a notification at night, like, oh, Antonio's listening to it again.
It won't say Antonio, but I can, like, if I really got to it, I can tell you. What city are you in?
Well, I'm New York City.
Would it just be considered just New York City?
I don't know. I'm in Queens County. Haven't you been listening?
Well, no, but I mean, like, for example, from New York, I got 1,202 downloads, which is the most, New York. But that's just New York. But I also have Manhattan on here, which had 734. Newburgh's 1,152. So I can tell if somebody, like, if it's like on Wednesday this week, if your episode gets downloaded, I could tell, hey, that's Antonio's episode. It's probably him downloading it. And if I wanted to look further, I could be like, oh, yeah, it's from New York. So it's probably Antonio listening, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. I was just checking.